Ja, hallo ich meine Lieben und willkommen zum zweiten Kapitel von One by One, der Undertale Fanfic und ja, Chapter 2, Sans. Knock knock knock. The brothers' house was well insulated against the snow and cold. This seemed unnecessary since its residents didn't have any skin, but Papyrus hadn't wanted guests to feel unwelcome. Still, a thin draft whisked in from underneath the front door and puttered about the house like an annoying dog. Knock, knock, knock. The draft maneuvered through a small galaxy of spare change under the couch, which was lumpier than Undyne smashed potatoes. This was impressive, as Undyne mashed her potatoes entirely with headbutts. Her head often wound up with more lumps than the potatoes. Undyne insisted that this improved the flavor. She emphatically denied the concussion had anything to do with it, often just before having a cup of aspirin and a nice lie down. Knock, knock, knock. It brushed against the lengthy tail of post, its nose standing for Sam's discarded sock. Papyrus had long since given up adding to this record-breaking chain letter, but as the glue wore off and the notes fell down, he just rewrote everything on new ones and stuck them on the sock again. He said they really tied the room together. Knock, knock, knock. Ich weiß nicht, wer klopft denn da die ganze Zeit? The priest ambled into the kitchen, where occasionally doggy snores sounded under the magnificently elongated sink. Alter, das ist richtig gut geschrieben, aber für mein Englisch ist es echt in the fridge, Papyrus collection of spaghetti brooded under low light. Zumindest verstehe ich die Hälfte davon. The lids of the spaghetti containers were a fantastic cornucopia of colors. For that matter, so was the spaghetti. Several containers had at this point developed rudimentary societies of their own and prototype conspiracies against Sans's interlooping chip back in the corner. Das ist so typisch Undertale, Alter. Das ist so typisch Undertale. Geil. Oh, ja, Entschuldigung, bitte das Stuhlknarzen. Knock, knock, knock. It sniffed at the end table, where Sans pet rock slowly digested its chocolate sprinkles, and apparently deciding that there was nothing of interest in the house besides that persistent knocking, headed back out the door and disappeared. Knock, knock, knock. The knocking continued. 3 polite raps every 5 seconds, made with metronomic precision. Knock, knock, knock oder so ähnlich. Frisk stood at Sans bedroom door, staring straight ahead as thought he'd found a prophecy written in the wood grain. He raised his fist. Knock, knock, knock oder so. Ja, he lowered his fist again. He raised his fist. He lowered his fist again. He raised his fist. He lowered his fist again. He raised. The door knob turned. The thrown open. Hey, Kilo. Sans shuffled out of the impenetrable murk of his bedroom, grinning the same as ever, 2 dim points of light shining deep in his eye sockets. The aroma of gently used socks wafted out in his wake. No one knew exactly how he accumulated so many socks, why they always smelled like they hadn't been washed in a week. He never set out his fluffy house slippers. He didn't even have cows. He was a skeleton bring with unfathomable mystery. Oder so ähnlich. So you have been knocking regularly for about 20 minutes straight. He glanced down at Frisk's knuckles, which were slowly staining purple. Man, doesn't it hurt? Frisk said nothing. Sans erased what would have been his eyebrows. It was always a little odd, the way his and his brother's guys could move like soft clay, then shrugged and went on. Anyway, sorry I took so long. Usually when someone knocks, I just figured it's Papyrus asking me what happened to a junior jumble or where pirates come from or something. But at this point it had given up or, said something, literally anything. He peered out of the room and down the hall. He must be outdoing whatever it is he does. Lucky. Cause otherwise he'd have heard you and dragged you out of the house to go on friendship adventures. He glanced back at Frisk. Friendship adventures? His words, not mine. Just go to the state that for the record. I think his action figures were involved. Frisk remained silent. That's some pretty good timing, catching me when I'm home and Papyrus isn't. Usually it's the other way around. His grin widened. You must really need me for something. Frisk nodded. Well, sorry, can't help you. He gingerly stepped around Frisk and headed for the stairs. Got a lot of work to avoid, you know how it is. Keep an eye out for me a waterfall or something, we'll get lunch. He stopped at the front door and turned back to Frisk, who was watching from the second floor rail. And put some ice on that hand, kid. Jeez. He stepped outside and shut the door. Frisk was left alone in the house, and the only sound was the tick of an unseen clock. Stimmt. Brother's house was well insulated against the snowing cold. This seemed unnecessary since its residents didn't have any skin, but Papyrus hadn't wanted guests to feel was haben wir doch schon. Schon wieder klopfen. Wieder klopfen, das war's ja ganz lanky. Das hat man jetzt sogar. Okay, das ist jetzt nicht ganz genau. Nochmal. Klopfen. The brother's house was well insulated against the snowing cold. This seemed unnecessary since its residents didn't have any skin, but Papyrus hadn't wanted guests to feel unwelcome. Still, a thin draft whisked in from underneath the front door and puttered about the house like an annoying dog. The draft maneuvered, ich kann es heute nicht aussprechen, through a small galaxy of spar change under the couch, which was lumpier than Undyne's mashed potatoes. This was impressive, as Undyne matched her potatoes entirely with fat butts. Her head often wound up with more lumps than the potatoes. Undyne insisted that this improved the flavor. She emphatically denied the concussion had anything to do with it, often just before having a cup of aspirin and a nice lie down. It brushed against the lengthy trail of post. Its nose dangling from Sen's discarded sock. Papyrus had long since given up adding to this record-breaking chain letter, but as the glue wore off, "Hey kiddo," Sen shuffled out of the impermeable mug of his bedroom, grinning the same as ever, two dim points of light shining deep in his eye sockets. The aroma of gently used socks waved out of his wake. No one knew exactly how he accumulated so many socks, or why they all smelled like they hadn't been washed in a week. He never stepped out of his fluffy house slippers. He didn't even have calves. He was a skeleton brimming with unfathomable mystery. So you have been knocking pretty regularly for a while now. He glanced down at Frisk's knuckles, which were covered in sunset-colored bruises. Man, doesn't that hurt? Frisk said nothing. Anyway, sorry I took so long. Usually when someone knocks, I figure it's just Papyrus. His eye sockets twinkled for a moment, and he reached and tapped his skull. Huh! Vic did you just then? His purpose swirled towards Frisk. And that expression. If I didn't know better, I'd say you heard all this before. Yeah. Frisk remained silent. You need my help with something? Frisk nodded. I have been keeping an eye socket out for a year since we first met, doing all I can here. He stepped around Frisk and headed through the stairs. Now, if you excuse me, I gotta see a man about a dog. That man is my brother, and that dog is probably his arch nemesis. He went through the front door, grabbed the handle, paused, and looked over his shoulder. And kid, Don't do that again. He sat outside and shut the door. Frisk was left alone in the house. The only sound was the tick of an unseen clock. The brother's house was well insulated. Alright, knock it off! Sans was still grinning, but now his bony brow furrowed in irritation. A moment passed and it smoothed out again. Knock it off! See what I did there? Frisk nodded and made a seesawing gesture with his unbruised hand. Everyone's a critic. Sans kept his voice light, but the weight bone around his eye socket's crinkles suggested that he too wasn't very amused. So, okay, you are a time traveler. Congrats! Round of applause. He clapped his hands together with a sound like castanets. Kind of a weird way to show it off, but hey, I'm not judging you. I guess this isn't just a house call. Frisk shook his head. You made my help with something? Frisk nodded. You're gonna finally bang together a couple syllabi and tell me what it is? Heck, what even makes you think I can do anything? Frisk angled his head slightly. The way the light fell on his face turned his stare accusatory. Alter, was sind das für Wörter? Okay. Sans struck his hand back in his pockets. I guess that goes without saying. So here's the twist ending, kiddo. He leaned in close. The answer's no. He did a nimble half step around Frisk and headed for the stairs, whistling tunelessly as he walked. Frisk watched him go. Take it from me, you gotta learn to be satisfied with what you have got. That little piece of advice is all the help I'll give. He paused with his hand on the door handle. Don't waste any more of your time with this. You'll get sick of it way before I do. He opened the door, turned, waved, and stepped out. Frisk stood in the empty house, listening to the clock tick. The sound filled him with determination. He cracked his knuckles and winced at the pain. The fifth visit. There, still at it? Sans held up a small memo pad, then shoved it in his hoodie pocket. Figured I'd keep a running tale of the visits. That way, at least one of us can have a good time. Das ist ja voll als du gerade sein, you have a bad time. He slid around Frisk and headed for the stairs. So long. Sans talkte einfach nur die ganze Zeit, ey, Alter, wie geil. The front door opened and shut. The 11th visit. Ach du Scheiße. Look at that, I think we already broke double digits. Feels like it took no time at all. For me, anyway. I bet it's getting real boring for you. Sans. He insinuated around Frisk and headed for the stairs. Now I can put in a good word or 2 bites and get you on my tape. Unlimited burgers or staring at my door forever. Your choice, keep it in mind. He paused in the front door. Though I guess I wouldn't remember telling you that. Just let me know I told you. I'm sure I believe me. His skin turned slightly unruthful. Time travel. Ain't it a delight? He shut the door slightly harder than usual. The 23rd visit. Excuse me, please. Sam stood in his doorway, grinning wide. After a long moment, Frisk stepped aside and let him pass. Thanks. Everything's so much easier when you just ask. Sans ambled down the stairs, hand in his hoodie pockets. Our little tally's gonna fill up the page at this rate. Now there is plenty of space left in my notebook. Sans pulled the memo pad out of one pocket and waggled it in Frisk's direction. Come on, kid, don't you have anything better to do? The color drained out of Frisk's face. Sans' smile dimmed. Was it something I said? Okay, war das, weil Esrin das zu ihm gesagt hat? Frisk shielded his lip, stared down at his feet. Guess I touched a nerve or something. Sans replaced the notebook, opened the front door. Sorry. He left anyway. Frisk stood there for some time, his fist clenched at his sides. His right hand was becoming badly swollen. The 40th visit. Sans bedroom door swung open. Hey kiddo, Sans said, opening the front door. Hi kiddo. Hallo und tschüss. Frisk did upper take from one doorway to another, mouth hanging agape. By the time he worked out what had just happened, Sans was already out anyway. The 55th visit. Sans stood out with his cell phone rested on the side of his head. Hey bro, got someone wants to speak to you. He tossed the phone to Frisk. Catch! Frisk fumbled it with his left hand. The fingers of his right no longer bent properly, and picked it up just in time to hear a distinctive voice above from the receiver. It sounded big like a kazoo and tempting to yodel. Congratulations, Mr. Scholar! You have successfully reached the phone of the Great Papyrus, most definite future member of the Royal Guard. Now identify yourself. Are you a friend or a future friend? You two have a nice conversation, Sans called from downstairs. Or, any kind of conversation. Cheers! Hello? Why aren't I saying anything? The front door's shut. Ah, I see. You are so intimidated by my greatness that you will need extra time to think to the perfect greeting. A salutation that will please my stern executor and renders me your comrade for life. Do your worst. Also, do your best. I believe in you. Das ist so geil. Ernsthaft. Ist so geil geschrieben. Der 64. Website. Wie vielleicht bin ich eigentlich noch? Auch voll der spannende Sans. Alter. Sans strutted out of his room whistling through his teeth. A jaunty, jazzy tune that somehow didn't sound like the kind of song you'd hear if you were having a good time. Das tut Megalorraine kann ich nicht nachmachen. He passed Frisk without a word, slid down the banister of his stairs, moonwalked across the living room carpet, and held one final note, arms outstretched, jazz heads shaking. He froze stiff in the pose. Frisk stared down at him. Sans stuck his hand back in his pockets and left the house. Frisk sighed, turned back to the bedroom, and jumped at the sudden noise. The front door popped open and the gleaming brass end of Sans' trombone popped out. He played 3 rambling notes, a dismal, heart-rending coda, and then shut the door again. Oh man. The 80th visit. Frisk had switched to his left hand for knocking long ago. After a while, Sans no longer kept him waiting for nearly as long. In fact, he often popped the door open at the first knock. He still had to tap his knuckles on the wood as gently as possible. The handle turned, the door swung open. Sans' bedroom was empty, but on the floor was a single sheet of lined notebook paper. Frisk bent over and carefully picked it up. In Sans' thick, bloopy print was written the words, "Gun fishing, you know the spot." Frisk started the paper for several seconds before folding it up and sticking it in the back pockets of his shorts. Okay Leute, ich mache kurz mit dem Cut, ich will noch kurz zu trinken holen. Es ist nicht mal langsam anstrengend. Vorlesen und ja, mit dem Mod ist es dann gleich wieder. Auf Wiedersehen.